Tonight, millions march for unity. The biggest ever rally in France is a show of solidarity against terrorism.
I think it's not just Charlie Hebdo, it's all the liberty which is attacked.
Tasered and handcuffed, a man dies in police custody after a violent arrest in Bowral. From dry to drenched, Lake Eyre floods and the rivers run after heavy rains in central Australia. And the man of 1,000 victories, Roger Federer, the champion in Brisbane, as Sam Stosur overcomes her first round curse in Sydney. Good evening, Jeremy Fernandez with ABC News. A nation in shock, united in grief. France has seen more than 4 million people march against terrorism in the largest demonstration the country has ever seen. 40 leaders from around the world joined President Francois Hollande and the survivors from the Charlie Hebdo shootings in a defiant display of solidarity. Europe correspondent Mary Guerin reports from Paris.
After unthinkable tragedy come unforgettable scenes. Paris hasn't seen crowds like this in living memory. A wave of people that never seemed to stop, all with the same message.
We believe in love, in freedom and in liberties.
There are people marching for as far as the eye can see. If the terrorist acts of the past week were meant to intimidate France, Paris today is saying they haven't worked.
A message from the masses, but from politicians too. A rare sight was the dozens of foreign leaders linking arms, but they weren't leading the pack. That honour belonged to surviving Charlie Hebdo workers and their friends, buoyed by the overwhelming show of solidarity.
As many as 2,000 civilians were being slaughtered by a violent jihadist group in Nigeria. Boko Haram has taken over large parts of the West African nation and its tactics are brutal. Overnight, 2 female suicide bombers hit a crowded market. Africa correspondent Martin Cudahy reports.
It's a disturbing new trend in an already bloody campaign. Like the Islamic State group, Boko Haram militants are fighting to establish an Islamic caliphate, and now they're using young girls as weapons. In 2 days, bombs have been attached to 3 females, at least one of them only 10 years old. Their targets were crowded marketplaces. Nearly 20 people are dead and dozens more are injured.
The use of children in the violence is abhorrent and we are seriously concerned.
Both attacks happened in the country's northeast, where Boko Haram has been expanding its influence. The fighting around the town of Baga last week is estimated to have claimed up to 2,000 lives, mostly women, children and the elderly.
This attack, first and foremost, is unprecedented and marks like a bloody escalation in their ongoing onslaught.
Rights groups estimate more than 1 million people have been displaced by the fighting. Tens of thousands are sheltering in neighbouring countries, including Cameroon. Maimed, traumatised and grieving the loss of loved ones, but at least alive.
When they took over my town, we felt like prisoners. And when they ordered single or widowed women to marry fighters, I knew I had to escape.
Cameroon too is wary. Boko Haram fighters have been making threats from across the border. Nigerian authorities have done little to stop the violence, and now the country's presidential election campaign is in full swing. There's growing pressure on the incumbent, Goodluck Jonathan, to address the violence that last year alone claimed 10,000 lives. Martin Cudahy, ABC News.
Heavy rain continues to fall across much of central and eastern Australia, flooding roads and cutting off some outback towns. But it's welcome relief for many farmers, with some reporting their highest rainfall figures in nearly 90 years.
South Australia's Lake Eyre covered with water for the first time in several years. Up to 200 millimetres of rain has been recorded in the area since Friday, drenching much of the lake's 1.2 million square kilometre basin. The lake usually receives water from Queensland via the Warburton River and rarely from direct rainfall.
It's
30 years pretty well to the day since they've had this widespread rain around and actually put this amount of water into the lake itself.
In the Northern Territory, waterfalls ran down Uluru, while the National Road Transport Hall of Fame in Alice Springs was flooded for the second time in 5 days. There's also been minor flooding in parts of Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria. The Weather Bureau says the wet weather will continue to head east over the next few days.
Just a very slow-moving weather pattern. So, yeah, a very stagnant weather pattern. Not only has the upper-level trough refused to move, but the low-level trough has remained in place and is now affecting other parts.
The rain has cut a number of major outback roads, including parts of the Birdsville, Oodnadatta and Strzelecki tracks in South Australia.
We will work as quickly as we can once the rain subsides and the roads start to dry out to reopen them.
There are also road closures in the Northern Territory and far west New South Wales. But that's not a concern for some pastoralists.
It was starting to get pretty dry. The sheep were starting to move onto the salt bush and and some tanks were getting low.
The latest deluge, a welcome top-up after a dry few months. Celeste Gibson, ABC News, Adelaide.
Both sides of politics have flown in federal support for the Queensland election battle. With Tony Abbott on leave, the acting Prime Minister Warren Truss has stepped in. The opposition leader Bill Shorten is trying to make federal issues part of the state campaign. Karen Binney sent this report from Brisbane.
He's in charge, extending a helping hand.
Warren, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you.
Warren Truss is trying to boost the Queensland Premier's political fortunes.
And I particularly acknowledge and welcome the acting Prime Minister.
Tony Abbott's on leave.
The LNP can get the acting Prime Minister of Australia to turn up in Queensland. Why can't we get the real Prime Minister?
The Premier says he doesn't need Mr Abbott's help.
We don't need to bring in someone like the Leader of the Opposition to hold our hand and prop us up.
Democratic hazard. Have a meal with a politician.
Bill Shorten's on the ground in Queensland, pushing federal issues.
Prime Minister Abbott hasn't campaigned in Queensland because Campbell Newman doesn't want him here.
I've been surprised about this criticism of the Prime Minister not having been to Queensland. When the election was announced, he was in Iraq visiting our troops.
The Prime Minister's office says there is no campaign tension, and Tony Abbott's leave has been in his diary for some time. Campbell Newman's officially launching his re-election bid on Sunday. Mr Abbott's on leave until Monday.
Any opportunities for further export markets?
And both state leaders have ruled out a deal for minority government.
Let's not hang Queensland with a hung parliament.
No deals. Next question.
Mr Newman and Anastasia Palaszczuk want to rule in their own right. Karen Binney, ABC News, Brisbane.
A movie that's been 12 years in the making about a young boy's journey to manhood is cleaned up at this year's Golden Globe Awards in Los Angeles. But it was the world's most famous human rights lawyer, Amal Clooney, who stole the show.
It's that time of year in Tinseltown. Australia's biggest names among Hollywood's brightest stars walking the red carpet before hosts Tina Fey and Amy Poehler kicked off the night with offensive charm.
And welcome, you bunch of despicable, spoiled, minimally talented brats.
Walk in fear. We won't do it. So, je suis Charlie. Thank you.
George Clooney was honoured for his lifetime achievements.
Mom, do you still love Dad?
The big winner of the night was Boyhood, a coming-of-age drama 12 years in the making. The movie scored 3 awards, including Best Supporting Actress, Best Director and Best Drama.
This was a very personal film for me. Couldn't be more personal, but it became very personal to everyone who worked on it. Thank you very much.
Wes Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel beat favourite Birdman as Best Comedy and Musical. But Birdman star Michael Keaton won Best Actor.
I'm extremely grateful.
Maggie Gyllenhaal beat Australian Frances O'Connor in the TV award for Best Actress, while Eddie Redmayne and Julianne Moore were named Best Actors in a Drama. The biggest surprise of the night came in the TV category, The Affair beating Orange is the New Black and House of Cards. Nina Tietzel, ABC News.
Let's turn to the weather again now, and there's more rain on the way, Graham.
Yes, it'll be fairly short-lived, this current system, Jeremy, and we should actually return back to more typical summer, drier, sunny conditions as we move in towards the weekend. But we felt that moisture today, some showers. It's also been extremely humid in Sydney, and despite those overcast conditions, it felt much warmer than what it was. Our overnight minimums and top temperatures ranging to around about 22 to 26 degrees, and the minimum's not that much under that level. Now, yesterday's rain mostly contracted to the northeast of the state by this morning. We saw mostly light showers along the remainder of the coast and about the northern inland. And the coastal ranges between about Coffs and Barrington Tops recorded the heaviest of the falls. We had 28 millimetres at Barrington Tops and 26 millimetres at Mount Seaview. They were the heaviest. Now, cloud is increasing over the inland. This is in association with a trough sitting through South Australia and the Northern Territory. It's deepening in response to an upper low sitting further back towards the west, and it's this trough that will continue to deepen and move into the state tomorrow, and that'll trigger another band of widespread rain before it eases and then clears in the west late tomorrow and then moves out off the coast during Wednesday. Now, we'll see that rainfall right across the southeastern states and capitals, some possible good falls for Adelaide and Melbourne, but it's going to continue the opposite, hot, dry conditions on the way for Perth. Now, across the state, falls of around about 10 to 20 millimetres will generally be south and west of a line pretty much from Broken Hill through to about Dubbo and then down to Perisher. There could be some severe thunderstorms in the northwest, and we should see lighter falls elsewhere. So cloudy with rain not developing until late afternoon or into the evening, and a freshening northeasterly wind flow in the afternoon. The strongest of the winds will be overnight and then again tomorrow evening. Further south, we got overcast conditions, very humid, rain developing in the afternoon and evening, also freshening winds in the coastal districts. The strongest of the winds again tonight and again as we head into tomorrow evening. Now, rain in the west of the state in the morning will spread to the ranges by the afternoon, and possible severe thunderstorms up around the northwestern districts. In Sydney, our overnight lows of 18 to 20. Tops should range from about 26 to 29. We've got some morning showers or overnight and morning showers. Overcast, then rain developing in the afternoon and evening, up to about 10 millimetres possible. Northeasterly winds will also freshen in the afternoon and also on the waters, becoming fresh tonight and again tomorrow evening. We should see that rain clear by Friday. Dry, sunny weekend, Jeremy.
Excellent to hear. Thank you, Graham. And that is ABC News for now. We'll have an update for you in an hour and again with the late news later this evening. Stay with us now, though, for 7:30 with Lee Sales.